to Rough Cut Film Review. I've just come off the back of doing my 12 Years a Slave review, so I'm not in a suitable frame of mind to be doing this, but never mind. So this is the review of The Hunger Games Catching Fire. And if I didn't say it, hello and welcome to Rough Cut Film Review. I think I did, but there we go. So I saw this a while ago, and like the first part, I didn't get round to reviewing it. I remember I started making a review of the first film, and for whatever reason it never got finished. However, I've recently made The Desolation of Smaug. That was super late. So for what it's worth, here's my review of The Hunger Games Catching Fire. And you didn't need to know all of that, and it was all very boring. So the excitement starts here, mostly. So The Hunger Games, well, the first one was a good film. Sure, it felt rather like Battle Royale for the American teen market, but it was darker and more interesting than I had any right to expect. Apparently they're based on successful books, and I've seen them in shops. I've never bought them or read them or know anything about them other than what I've seen in the first Hunger Games. So please bear with me, there will be spoilers from the first film at this point, so switch off if you don't want to hear them. So here we are in the dystopian future. It's all very horrible. The people in the swanky capital rot like pigs. They feast and they get regular sort of blood price from the different districts that aren't the capital, the sort of agrarian provinces, for a popular uprising that happened way back when they all rebelled against the capital. The capital ended up winning, but they paid a terrible price, and therefore ever since then they're sort of bleeding the provinces out of guilt. Anyone that knows anything about politics will know that's not the way to do it, but never mind. So the people in the provinces, and they've got numbers now, they don't have names, they've got numbers. They are pretty much constantly on the verge of starvation, and the people in the capital don ridiculous fashions that remind one of the aristocracy prior to the French Revolution. Now, this film largely suffers from being the middle part in the trilogy in one sense, and in another sense I don't agree with that at all, but basically we're not going anywhere fast. Now, as I understand it, the capital is hell-bent on regaining control. There are sort of murmurings of rebellion, and it's looking to stamp them out. However, we're sort of told that they're big and mean and they like stamping out rebellion, but the actions don't really play to that. It strikes me as a very weak dictatorship or autocracy or whatever it is. It's more akin to a confidence trick, and not a very confident confidence trick at that. They sort of talk a good fight, but they don't do what's necessary to regain power. If you're in that situation to retain power, rather, you really do have to kick the people in the ghoulies and make people disappear in the night and really make people afraid. If you've read anything regarding Lenin or Mao or any kind of political theory, you'll know that, talk is relatively cheap, and you really do need to stamp down on this. In my notes I've gone into great detail about this, but really that's completely unnecessary, and I'll just leave it there. So anyway, plot-wise, well, as the winners of the Hunger Games, Katniss and that bland bloke that hangs around with her that she sort of likes but also sort of doesn't, they poodle around a bit doing something of a book tour. We won, we're pretty great. It's sort of, they're like their X Factor celebrities, that kind of thing. However, they have become, particularly Katniss, a symbol for dissidents and the Mockingjay bird, apparently. So the state is keen to sort of stamp them out, really. They then go to rather silly lengths to upset the state by saying things on camera that they should never ever be saying on camera. So then suddenly, what are we going to do with this film? I know what we'll do. We'll have another Hunger Games, throw them back in, but turn everything up to 11, and I really didn't see that coming, and I'm so disappointed that it went that way. Before I really go into this, in the positive column, I think I'll say that the acting here is really good. Jennifer Lawrence is superb as always. She's such a fine actor, and she really is one of my favourite young female Hollywood actresses. She is fantastic. But I have to say here, the acting is all really good. I don't really understand the character Peeta, the guy that plays him. He's bland beyond bland, and actually some of Katniss's, because she's really sort of, she spreads it around a bit, really, her affections, in a sense that, she's got exposure to lots of young men. Some of them are pretty boys that really can't act, but by and large, the cast is really good. So, I mean, what I kept coming back to is that sort of, what do you mean it's not a trilogy if the first part and the second part are near identical? No, it's not a trilogy. This is just killing time before the third bit so you can make more money. In this part, we have water, though. There was no water in the first part. Also, here, I mean, it's almost like they're doing this to upset me, really, but one of the good guys has to carry a grey-haired, witch-like woman on his back in comical fashion as they're trying to run away from this terrible killer gas stuff, and look like he's running for his life, and it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They're trying to make you upset. They're trying to make you relate to these characters. Oh my gosh, look at the killer gas coming through the trees. Oh no. And then there's this chap with this piggybacking old lady going dun, 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 dun. I just don't understand. The tone of the first one was really, really black, and I was sort of hiding behind my hands when the Hunger Games started like that. And in this one, I think what's going on? We then have a scene where our heroic good guys must slaughter a whole tribe of CGI baboons, and you just think, what's happening here? I don't think this is a political parable. At one point, one of the characters, and I did titter to myself, one of the characters actually goes, "That's new," and he's right, it was new. Water, that wasn't in the first film, but loads of other stuff was in the first film, and the plot arc is almost identical. There's just no emotional impact in this one. I'm really surprised how bad it is. When the game started in the first one, I was really upset to see all the kids die. A lot of it was inferred, a lot of it was clever camera work, but here it's a stupid mix of scary people who sharpen their teeth, who are a bit older than the characters in the first one. They're not even the big kids, they're sort of young adults actually. But then we've got the wizened old woman who's thrown in there for laughs as well. What sort of a stupid totalitarian government lets sweet old women get slaughtered? And baboons. Oh no, murderous fog, oh no. It's so stupid, I was so disappointed. And the fact that the film is reminiscent of deliberately silly 90s films like Cube and the Ray Liotta B-movie No Escape, in terms of plot and structure and theme, it's really not good. Oh, hang on, there's a pudgy middle-aged character with a receding hairline and glasses. I think Katniss should befriend him or be nice to him, because he might have a useful plan later. And yes, he does. Even the posters of the two films look almost identical. It's Katniss looking stern, holding a bow and arrow, pointing it sort of towards us. I'm really, really surprised that this film, and I had no inkling, was just going to retread the same ground all over again. I'm sorry, this isn't a sequel. I don't know what the definition of a sequel is, but you know it when you see one, and this isn't a sequel. It might have similar themes, but you don't just go, alright, well, let's just press the restart button and do it all again, but turned up to 11, because that's all that happens here, except it doesn't have the emotional impact. It's almost like a parody of itself. I know there was that terrible The Starving Games, one of those dreadful parody films, and I actually tried watching that to my eternal shame, to do a review, because I knew it was going to be bad. I watched the first 10 minutes and walked out. Couldn't bear it. This isn't as bad as that, but it's closer than it should ever have been. And the acting's really good by and large. There's lots of good things here. It's just plot-wise, what on earth is going on? Kind regards, Christopher Thomas.